Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Heather Polivka, and she's going to talk to us about people leadership, such an important skill. And as business owners, you are absolutely a leader, whether you have a small team or a huge team. And leaders within our businesses can make or break, in many cases, the success of our business. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Let's talk about what you do, because you have a very specific way that you support businesses and their leadership. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to share with us what it is that you do.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, probably a little unconventional. I'm going to start with my why of what I do. I believe everyone gets to thrive. Like that is, and especially at work, no one, I don't think anyone should have to struggle for a paycheck. And so I'm like, how do we have people thrive in workplaces? And as a result, and studies and everything show this, the business thrives. But I start first with the fact that everyone deserves to thrive. And my background, I've got 20 years of marketing leadership, marketing operations, technology, brand, also 11 plus years of HR. Some of that was all at the same time. That's a long story that we won't get into. But why I share that is because, yes, I have the HR knowledge and expertise, but I've actually done line leadership of a function. And then now I run my own business. So I've done business ownership. And the gap that I've seen in businesses of all sizes, and it doesn't matter if it is, the entrepreneur like myself who started a business because they have a certain area of expertise, and then all of a sudden discovers they've got to be, their tech support and their social media expert and all those things you learn you don't know how to do. Or the Fortune 10 companies I've worked in. The gap I've seen time and time again is people get promoted into their first manager role, their first people leadership role. And unfortunately, sometimes they get promoted, because they're the last one standing, or they've been there the longest, or like they're the most successful salesperson or the most successful customer service representative. So the next thing you know, they're a sales manager and a customer service leader. But the skills of being an individual contributor and producing results by yourself versus, leading and producing results through others, they're very distinct and different skills. And so I also believe most people step into that role and they're super excited. I just got promoted, yay. And in their mind, they're going to be like the best people leader ever. That's who they want to be, because we've all had those crappy bosses. No one says, I'm going to try to be like that. But if you don't get any training and support beyond compliance and technical, and if you haven't done some of the mindset work that I know that you do with people to also understand why you respond and react to things the way you do and why you make things mean certain things, then all that stuff just kind of spills out onto the people you're leading. And that's why 75% of people leave their jobs because of their manager. And it's easy to ding the manager for that. And the number two reason they leave is lack of growth and development, which, by the way, dependent upon the manager for. It's easy to ding them until you realize only 30% of them get any training. And the 30% that do, it's mostly compliance, technical, or it's just not good training. And so I really want to, and there's lots of leadership coaches out there, but they focus on, when you've been 5-10 years in your leadership career. So I focus on people who are leading for the first time. And we're not going to give them a dissertation on everything they need to know, but we're going to give them the building blocks. I'm like the ABCD building blocks of being a people leader. And then, they'll move on and they'll grow. And then maybe they'll work with leadership coaches. Maybe they'll do more in-depth mindset work, which I would highly recommend. But that's where they learn then to form words and sentences. I'm their building blocks.
I love that. What we're really, really talking about here is basic skills that are absolutely critical to business success.
Yes.
There's all those cliches, you're only as strong as your weakest link and things like that. It doesn't take much to really wreak havoc on a business. And I mean, we all have had a negative experience going into a business, and the face of that business, whether it's a customer support person, whether it's on the phone or in person, is just, maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe they're overworked and underpaid or underappreciated. Maybe they just honestly should not be in that job. And it has a very adverse effect, obviously, on the customer experience. And that is going to adversely affect the success of the business. If I don't go to, ABC business anymore, that's a lot of lost revenue. And then when I'm not willing to refer people to that business, or I'm speaking negatively about that business. And it's interesting because a lot of those types of roles are very heavily influenced by management, by leadership. And sometimes that is the actual business owner, and sometimes it is someone who has, stepped into that role. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of those foundational pieces.
Yeah. And I love all the examples you gave of that bad interaction. All of them are things that an effective people leader has an impact and plays a role in. And especially those examples, you're right, they're very much impacted. What are they recognized for? What are they rewarded for? Are they even getting any recognition? So we do spend some time on brain science. So let me maybe first, if I describe sort of the format of the program, and we do use neuro leadership science in it. It is micro learnings. There is not a single one that is longer than 15 minutes. And part of that is to make it super accessible, but part of that is research-based in terms of how people learn and retain information. And part of it is influenced by the fact that some of my early manager jobs were in retail and in restaurants, and I wanted it to be quick and easy and on the go because I've worked in those environments. So it's micro lessons that include a 3 to 5 minute video. There is a handout, but it's done more like think of a marketing collateral piece versus your typical sort of staid HR kind of policy piece.
Stuff that nobody really enjoys reading.
Exactly. And then we have a live online community for asking questions and getting responses within 24 hours to learn from each other. So the sense of community, what people are dealing with. And then we also do monthly calls. And the participants bring what they're dealing with and what they want to know in those calls. So we build a sense of community. And then here's the other thing. It's all mobile, accessible, and it's support for an entire year. Access to all of that because there's a business cycle. There's different things that we deal with at year end versus at the start of the year versus maybe whenever our business is at peak season. So we thought it was really important to support them for a full year. So one of the first things we do is we talk about this leap of producing results individually versus now it's about producing results through others. And that's a whole different set of skills. And by the way, it's not about you. It's about your team. We do talk about brain science to help them understand why things like recognition are so critical to triggering that reward response in the brain. And also feedback. This is one of the things that warms my heart is most participants who join this program do not know that there's actually two kinds of feedback. The only thing they're aware of is they think feedback is just someone telling them they did something wrong. And they're not aware that there's actually this positive reinforcing feedback, and that should be used 4-to-1 to the redirecting. It's almost like you watch minds get blown in that moment, and it's awesome. And just think about that one difference that it makes when they go back and lead their teams. And they even say it. It's fun to try to catch your team members doing something right. But the other thing is they start to understand the brain science of, if I keep triggering the reward response 4 times, then the one time I'm going to give redirecting feedback, the threat response in the brain is much, much lower versus getting completely hijacked and being that person who has a bad interaction with a customer, right? So we talk about those things. We talk about communication and remote and hybrid work. What are the levers that we need to pull a little differently in remote and hybrid work? We do talk about self-care, emotional intelligence, doing that personal reflection work, because leaders who do that personal reflection work are more consistent in how they show up with their teams. So we do some of, I think we touch on, again, those ABC building blocks, some of the work you do, but certainly not at the level that you do that, but we introduce them to it. We also get into things like development, about really caring about your people and understanding where they want their careers to go and what they want out of the working arrangements, so that you can tailor accordingly as much as possible. But then also, how do you coach them in that? So we cover all of these foundational building blocks, and we get into cognitive bias, because that's how our brains work, and understanding, like, your brain's trying to help you. It's trying to take a shortcut, but not all shortcuts are good shortcuts. So we just boil it down to really those elemental pieces as that foundation. So those are a few of the topics. We cover over 50 topics, and it's self-guided. There's an order to them, but they can take on a topic that's important to them that day. Maybe I've got to have maybe I'm dealing with a conflict at work. So I might dive right into the one that's understanding conflict and conflict management styles. So literally in like 15 minutes, I've got the basic tools I need to deal with a conflict that has emerged at work.
I absolutely love everything that you just shared. I could go into all sorts of reasons why. One of the things that I loved, and I don't think it's come up on any of the other interviews that we've done so far, is understanding that we can really only absorb new information for about a maximum of 20 minutes at a time. It's and they've done fascinating studies where they've found that you retain about the first 10 minutes of something and about the last 10 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. And pretty much everything else in between is a bit messy. Yeah. So a lot of science has been done to understand the way that the brain works and how we can process and retain information. And when you can use that understanding to your advantage. A lot of people also think, well, does that mean that I can only do 20 minutes of learning new information and then game over? No, if you actually take the right type of rest and recharge, even if it's a short break, then you come back into it with that fresh mindset, and you can actually stack your learning in a very efficient manner. But how many people, look at our school systems,
right,
are being crammed, and a lot of really incredible entrepreneurial people who love learning new information, and they are doing their inner work, and they're reading books and taking programs and taking trainings, and they're basically doing that cramming, where they're trying to put too much information in, and then they walk away from something and there's sort of a disheartening cycle that takes place, because it's like, well, I'm spending so much time and I'm doing all of this work. Shouldn't I be further along than I am? But when we can take 15 minutes, 20 minutes, even the hypnosis audios that I've been creating for years are usually 20 minutes, about 20 minutes max. And that's in a completely different brainwave state. And I'm still using that principle because there's that mental fatigue that we can start to experience. But when we can take that powerful, like feeding the mind 15, 20 minutes and then go out and implement.
Right.
Powerful.
Super powerful. And then it helps the implementation, which you just pointed to, which we do give them 2 to 3 ways to immediately apply it in very tangible ways, like actionable ways, but that then cements it, starts cementing it in the brain so that it actually has stickiness.
So good. I mean, I think that we could easily go into some really, really, really valuable, segue topics here.
Yeah.
We just don't have all that much time. So I'm going to
20 minutes.
I know. I'm going to pivot, right? I'm going to pivot a little bit here.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you as the business owner.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love to ask my guests is about your own mindset journey as a business owner. It is not just hang up your shingle and everything is, rosy after that. So are you able to share with us maybe one of your own mindset obstacles that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are today?
I love this question. And I love this because it's not talked nearly enough about in the entrepreneurial space. Everyone will tell you, like, you need to get all these tools, but no one really I mean, I know you are. I want this conversation to be more prevalent. I remember talking to someone before I went out on my own. I left corporate and started my own business. And I talked to someone who had gone out on his own 10 years earlier, and he made the statement, I never had to deal with myself more than when I went out on my own. And I thought at the time that was super insightful. I even wrote it down somewhere and I was like, ooh. But I had no idea what that really meant until, I was a business owner. And one of my, I actually remember the day, it's like my low point as an entrepreneur and business owner was November 13th of last year of 2020. And what had happened is I was used to in corporate, I develop a plan and I leverage lots of resources and I'll work really hard. And fact of the matter is I've been quite successful in corporate and I was used to I produce results. Like I always hit my goals. I always produce results. And so I developed a plan for my business. Now, granted, yes, this was in the midst of a, global pandemic, but I still had a plan. And I'm telling you, I worked that plan like nobody's business. And November 13th came, which was sort of the end date of the plan. And I had achieved most of the results, but not all of them. And one of the most important being, my revenue. And I just, I had this moment of, I just like, I'm a failure. What am I doing? All of those saboteur, nothing helpful, right? But so much so that, it wasn't like a one day I had a bad day kind of thing. It took me a couple of weeks of reflection. And that's why self-reflection is so important. And one of the things I realized is that while I believed in the plan and I believed in my ability to work the plan, at the end of the day, I believed in the plan and all of that more than I believed in myself. I didn't actually really, truly believe in just me. Not for the things my actions, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had to realize that the only person who could give me that gift was me. No one else could, no matter what they said, no one could give me that gift of believing in myself except for me. And that was a huge turning point. And that's actually when I started my mindset practice, because I realized like the worst place is in your head and gets in your way of success more than anything. And now that morning mindset practice is a non-negotiable for starting my day. And also, quite frankly, it can become a non-negotiable when something happens in the business. And I know right then, like, this is going to take me down this path I don't want to go. And it's time to stop, interrupt, and take care of number one. And number one is my mindset. And that's the most important thing I do to take care of myself now. But I had to hit that sort of rock bottom and realize that belief in plans and ideas and hard work is all great, but it's so different than believing in yourself.
One of the things that I've found is maybe, I would say, an emotional challenge for me with the work that I do, because this is really where people oftentimes seek me out, is they are in that breakdown before the breakthrough, which is always preceding an up leveling. And when I see people at that stage, I'm actually excited for them, because I know that then we can release some of those old limiting beliefs, and they are going to have that breakthrough. They are going to up level. But I see so many people that haven't reached that point yet. They're still in the working their, off, and really just treading water. And they're feeling all of the emotional distress and all of the emotional discord, because the results, the feedback, right, is showing them actually their lack of belief, their lack of expectation, but they don't know how to process that. So they don't actually understand what's happening, and they're just digging themselves into a deeper hole, which is exhausting.
It is.
And what I find is that, and I say it all the time, I've written it in books, I've written it in articles, I've said it on so many interviews that I've done on, in different places. You have to believe in yourself. Your expectations become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and your results are showing you what you actually expect at those deeper levels of the mind. And I can say it, and people kind of get it conceptually, but it doesn't create the shift.
Right.
And what you're talking about is when you get to that point where you literally hit, bam, that is the rock bottom. You've dug yourself so deep, you've reached your bottom.
Yeah.
And the only place that you can go from there is really, kind of laying in the hole and allowing yourself to wither and die, or allow that to be a catalyst for a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And a lot of people retreat at that point.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured out the way yet. I don't have the magic wand to just bestow upon people belief in their self. Hypnosis is probably one of the closest things that I've found. And that's only one of the many tools and techniques that I use, many of which are very, very empowering techniques, but they're still just tools, because like you said, the only person who can do it is you. And as a coach, that's my work, is to help people to get there faster, to pull that up and out of themselves faster by releasing and letting go and reframing some of the beliefs that are keeping them from not having that belief and expectation in themselves. Man, oh man, if I can figure out a way to just help people remember their potential in that like deep way, like fast. Oh, I would just love to give that gift to everyone, because that is the distinction. Yeah, we'll still have other fears and doubts and insecurities that we're going to have to work through, but that self-belief piece is so critical.
So critical. And that's why I shared. I just yesterday had lunch with someone, and she's starting out on her own, and the first and she's looking for all sorts of advice. And I'm sure she was thinking I was going to talk about her logo or her website or, whatever. But my first thing was, you got to have a mindset practice, and you got to know that, that how your business is now is going to be very different than 6 months from now, very different than a year from now. And to navigate that, the most critical thing you need before your logo and your website and your everything is that belief in yourself, because that sometimes will be the thing that will sustain you when you hit those inevitable challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great interview.
One other thing you said, though, I love what you said, is that when you're in breakdown, that's your access to breakthrough. And I love that you said that. It's so true. And to get assistance, to see that, to get your coaching and support, to be able to access, to turn that breakdown into breakthrough is just invaluable. So I just it just really resonated for me.
I have been working with business owners for a very long time, and I have gone through my own ups and downs. I always say I am my own best client, and that's why I'm so good at what I do. But I've seen so many people at all different stages of business, including business owners who own multi-million-dollar companies. These are reoccurring patterns. They are things where I think so many people have this airy-fairy idea that once you achieve a certain level of success, that everything after that is just smooth sailing. That's not the way that our mind works. We establish a certain set of beliefs and expectations. We have a certain self-image. We really acclimate to that self-image once we've gotten to that new level. And when we're going to the next level beyond that, that's all new information for the subconscious mind again. And that's why we keep experiencing this. And that's why you'll hear people say new level, new devil, our upper limit problems. There are so many different cliches that have almost become just, you hear them and you don't really know what that means. And even my business owner clients who have been through these things have never really processed it in that way. They don't understand. So when they encounter it again, every time it feels like a huge setback, a huge obstacle. And when you can reframe that and understand what's happening, it may still be challenging to have that breakthrough when you're going through the stuff, but it creates a sense of, I'm not going to die. The universe hasn't cut off my flow of money or abundance or support. Right. I may have lost a key employee, or I may be having this challenge in my marriage, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's going to be okay. And we need that.
Yeah. And even possibly embrace it as, this is what it looks like when I'm leveling up. Oh, this is part of this process. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't feel yay.
Yes.
But recognizing that this is part of that process. And so you actually might be in the perfect place for where you are. But by all means, don't get stuck there.
Exactly. Heather, how can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, they can connect with me. They can connect with the Awesome People Leaders program via awesomepeopleleaders.com. And they can connect with me on LinkedIn, Heather Polivka, and I'll spell that real quick. P as in Peter, O-L-I, V as in Victor, K-A, or at Heather P Solutions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
And thank you to all of our listeners. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.